Hello, folks. So today we are talking about we're on Unit 8, Lesson 10, right, which is in your workbook. So today what we're talking about in this lesson is really just application of Pythagorean's theorem. So we've learned this theorem. How do we apply it? How can we use that? And let me tell you, I've used this thing quite a few times. I'll show you an example of that in this lesson today, all right? So before we talk about the application of Pythagorean theorem, let's review the Pythagorean theorem, right? So the theorem states that a squared plus b squared equals c squared, correct? Where a and b are both the legs of a triangle, right? And c is going to be the hypotenuse, right? So if we have a right triangle here, let's hope this thing shows up right. Oh, there you go. So the legs would be these two things, and the hypotenuse is the longest side of a triangle, of a right triangle. And Pythagorean theorem only works with right triangles. So there was an example in the book here that there was a problem that looks like this, right? It was in one of our activities. Okay, where it asked us to find the length of this line going from one corner of a rectangular prism to another corner. Okay, so from the top angle, I'm assuming this is going to look like, if we were looking on top of the rectangular prism, I'm assuming it goes like this. And we can see that it connects from this corner to this corner. So it would look like this. So we know that this triangle, or this line, makes a right triangle with these two lines, okay? Which represent these two lines here. So we've got a length of 4 and a length of 5. So what we can do is find the length across from here to here, which on this triangle is actually, or in this prism is actually going to look like this. So we can find that length, okay? So let's do that. Let me make that a little better though. I want that to look like this. Yeah, that's good enough. All right, so if we do 4 squared plus 5 squared, we're going to get c squared. Okay, so let's see what that equals. All right, so 4 squared is 16 plus 5 squared is 25. All right, and if we add those two together, see, 416 plus 25 is equal to 41. All right, so we end up with 41 is equal to c squared. All right, if we take the square root of both of those, we end up getting, let's see, what's the square root of 41? Ooh, yeesh, is 6.4. All right, so we'll just use that. So 6.4 is equal to c now. All right, so we understand that. So actually, instead of moving all that stuff, let's just move. Oh my goodness. No, I don't want to enable caption. I just want to move a couple of things. You know how Notability is, so I'm going to move that mess over there, okay? So we know that this length here is 6.4. Now, we also know that this length is 6 because it's the same as that length. The height of the rectangular prism is 6. So now we can find the actual length of this line, all right, using the same thing. So 6.4 squared plus 6 squared is going to equal the new c squared. We'll label this c so we know. So we already know that 6.4, or this number squared, is going to be 41 because we solved it down here, right? So we got 41 plus 36 is what 6 squared is equal to c squared. All right, now 41 plus 36 is equal to 77. Oh man. I do not like sevens, but that's okay. Let's find out what the square root is. So if we do the square root of 77, we will get that this length is just about 8.8 is equal to c. All right. So then you'll understand this is equal to 8.8. Now we know the length of that line. So that's one application in which we have to use Pythagorean's theorem twice. But say you were making, like, I don't know, some designer crate and you wanted some shelf to go in at an angle, you could figure that out. All right. So that's how that's done. I actually used this last year or a couple years ago on my truck. I mean, when I got this truck, Well, here, I'm going to erase all this stuff because we don't need it anymore. So I can show you all a picture of my truck. All right, so here I've got my truck, right? Now, I had this idea with it. So some of you know that I now have a topper on my truck and it looks awesome and I love it. But I had this idea to make an A-frame. So I wanted to build it. I wanted to build, have these lengths coming up here. I wanted to connect each of those with, I made it out of PVC was the idea, but I wanted to connect everything and just have like a frame, So I would have a PVC frame that I could use, when I was camping, so I could set it up and put a tarp on it, and I could hang out in here being super happy. Yeah, go me. Woohoo. All right. So I knew that I wanted this thing to be about 46 inches high from the top of my tailgate. I knew this length, I wanted it to be 46 inches high. And I know that the length across my tailgate is 40, almost 46. It's 45.98, but I wanted to be exact. All right, so I drew all this out and I had my students figure out, I was able to measure that, but I wasn't able to figure out what that length right here had to be, what the hypotenuse of that triangle was. So what I do, you can bet I did some math. Love math. All right, anyway, so I drew this up, okay? And I showed it to my students and I had them figure it out for me, which was great. So we have this length here, which is 22.98. Now I said that I wanted this to be 46 inches high. Okay, well, if we add 22.98 to the height that was here, which was about 23 inches, we get pretty close. And down to the nearest hundredths of an inch or 200ths of an inch, I was okay with that. All right, so we've got those lengths. So this is all the information I gave my students, was that we had that height that was 22.98, this one right here, and then the tailgate was that wide, 45.98. Now you can use Pythagorean's theorem here to figure it out. Now the biggest mistake they made was they just did 45.98 squared plus 22.98 squared equals c squared. Why is that wrong? It's not going to give me the right length. If you guessed it, I'm going to be impressed. So anyway, if you guessed it, no, if you know it. So this length here, this hypotenuse, is only half of 48.98. So there you go. So when we divide 45.98 by 2, we get 22.99. So this length here is actually 22.99. And perhaps I should use a thinner pen on this. I'll go with white because everything else is in white and it goes well against that background. All right, so this was actually 22.99. All right, so can't use white down here. Time to go back to purple. All right, so if we do this using Pythagorean's theorem, 22.99 squared. All right, so 22.99 squared is about 528.5 plus 22.98 squared is, let's see, is about 528 flat, or 528.1. All right, is equal to c squared. So when you add those two together, 528 point that plus 528 point that, yeah, you get, you get 27,000. That's completely wrong. Hang on a sec. Let's try this again. So 528.5 plus 528.1 equals 1 thing. Yeah, that's much. Geez. Equals 1,005 or 1,056.6. Right? Is equal to c squared. Now, if we take the square root of that 1,056.6, we get roughly 32.5 is equal to C. And that is in inches. All right, so once I figured that out, that this length has to be 32.5 inches, I cut it out and I had a perfect A-frame, and I took it to Red Bull Rampage, camped in it, and broke my collarbone, and it was great until the whole breaking of the collarbone. That's all right. I had a lovely place to sleep with my broken collarbone. So anyway, this is how Pythagorean theorem can be useful if you want to put an A-frame in your truck or literally anywhere. I use this more than anything else in my life. But there you go. So that's today's lesson, is how we can apply Pythagorean's theorem. If you have any more, if you've watched this video and you still have trouble doing the homework, please use the homework link or the homework resource link at the top of the week 8 page. All right. You all have a wonderful rest of the week, and I will see you all later. Bye-bye.